What happens when old wounds are reopened on live television, when history refuses to stay buried, and two strong personalities walk back into the same room knowing exactly how explosive it can become. The studio lights are bright, the applause sign flashes, and the audience has no idea they're about to witness a collision that feels less like a conversation and more like a reckoning. Before we dive in, if you live for moments like this, raw, unfiltered, and impossible to ignore, make sure you subscribe to Prime Talk right now, hit that like button, and drop a comment as we go, because this one escalates fast. The familiar set of The View hums with controlled energy. Coffee mugs sit untouched. Cameras glide into position. There's a polite tension in the air, the kind that only seasoned television producers can recognize. The warning signs before something goes off script. Meghan McCain takes her seat, posture straight, jaw set, eyes scanning the table. She's been here before. She knows what this table can turn into. And across from her, Joy Behar leans back slightly, arms relaxed, expression calm but knowing. Not defensive. Not aggressive. Confident. Almost amused. The audience claps, but it's not the warm applause of comfort. It's curious. Anticipatory. People shift in their seats, sensing the unspoken history between these two women. Years of ideological clashes, personal barbs, and moments that went viral long after the cameras stopped rolling. This isn't just another appearance. It's unfinished business. The conversation starts innocently enough. A headline flashes on the screen. Politics. Media responsibility. Cultural divides. Meghan listens, nodding slightly, fingers interlocked, but her breathing changes. Joy speaks with her trademark sharp humor, delivering a line that draws laughter from the audience. Meghan smiles, but it doesn't reach her eyes. Joy turns toward her. "Meghan, you've been very vocal lately," she says, tone casual, almost friendly. "Do you think the rhetoric has gotten more extreme, or are we just finally saying the quiet parts out loud?" Meghan inhales. This is it, the moment where the conversation tilts. "I think what's extreme," she replies carefully, "is pretending that half the country doesn't exist, or that their concerns are somehow illegitimate just because you don't agree with them." A few murmurs ripple through the audience. Joy tilts her head, eyebrows lifting. "No one said half the country doesn't exist," she fires back. "But when misinformation spreads, it's our job to call it out." Meghan's hands uncurl. Her voice tightens. "And who decides what's misinformation, Joy?" People sitting at tables like this one. The temperature in the room rises. One of the co-hosts glances down at her notes, suddenly fascinated by the paper. Another shifts uncomfortably. The audience goes quiet, the laughter evaporating. Joy leans forward now, resting her elbows on the table. "I decide what's misinformation when facts decide," she says. "That's how it works." Meghan's eyes flash. There it is, that familiar spark of frustration mixed with resolve. "That's incredibly condescending," she says. "And it's exactly why people feel talked down to by the media." The word condescending lands hard. A few gasps echo from the crowd. Joy exhales through her nose, shaking her head. "Oh please," she says. "Disagreeing with you isn't talking down to you." Meghan's voice rises, just enough to cut through the studio. "It feels like it when you dismiss entire perspectives as dangerous just because they don't align with yours." Silence. The kind that feels heavy, almost physical. The cameras zoom in, catching every micro-expression. Joy's lips press together. She's no stranger to confrontation, but there's something sharper in her eyes now. Personal. "You know what feels dangerous?" Joy says slowly. "Normalizing behavior that undermines democracy." Meghan doesn't hesitate. "And you know what feels dangerous to me? Media elites deciding they are the moral authority for everyone else." The audience reacts all at once, applause mixed with groans. The sound swells, chaotic and divided, mirroring the argument unfolding on the table. A producer off-camera gestures subtly, signaling for calm, but it's too late. The moment has escaped its container. Joy laughs, but there's no humor in it. "Media elites," she repeats. "I've been doing this longer than you've been in politics-adjacent spaces, Meghan. And I grew up watching my father get attacked by the same media machine." Meghan snaps back. Her voice cracks just slightly, emotion bleeding through the polish. "So don't tell me this is theoretical." That's when the room changes. The argument is no longer abstract. It's personal. The audience senses it immediately. Some lean forward. Others cross their arms. Everyone is watching. Joy softens for half a second, then steadies herself. "I respected your father," she says. But that doesn't mean I have to agree with everything you say. I'm not asking for agreement, Meghan replies. I'm asking for respect. The word hangs in the air. Respect. It's heavier than any policy debate, any talking point. It cuts to the core of why these clashes never really end. A co-host tries to interject, offering a bridge, a neutral comment meant to cool things down. But the energy has already shifted. Meghan looks away briefly, collecting herself, then looks back at Joy, eyes steady. This is why people stop listening, she says quietly. Because conversations turn into lectures. Joy straightens, meeting her gaze. And this is why facts matter more than feelings, she responds. The audience erupts again, louder this time. Applause. Booing. A divided room reflecting a divided nation. The camera pulls back, capturing the entire table, the tension vibrating through the set like a live wire. And as the show cuts to a commercial break, one thing is clear, this isn't over. Not even close. The clash has only just begun, and what happens next will push this confrontation from heated debate into something far more personal and far more explosive. The red light above the camera flickers off as the show slips into commercial, but the tension doesn't pause. It thickens. The applause sign goes dark, and without the audience's cues, the studio feels smaller, tighter, almost claustrophobic. Meghan McCain exhales sharply, shoulders rising and falling, while Joy Behar reaches for her mug, takes a slow sip, and stares straight ahead. No one speaks for a moment. Not because they have nothing to say, but because there's too much. A producer's voice crackles faintly through an earpiece, urging calm, reminding everyone they are live television professionals. But professionalism doesn't erase history. And history is sitting right there at the table. Meghan shifts in her chair, adjusting her blazer, eyes briefly dropping to the desk before lifting again. Her expression isn't anger now. It's resolve. The kind that comes when someone feels misunderstood one too many times. Joy, sensing it, turns slightly toward her, lips pressed together, preparing herself. She's been in countless confrontations over decades of broadcasting, but this one has a familiar sting. The cameras roll back on. The applause sign flashes again, prompting the audience into polite clapping, but the sound feels forced, fragile. The host introduces the segment return with a practiced smile, voice bright, almost artificial compared to the storm beneath it. So, before the break, the host says carefully, we were talking about media responsibility and how we communicate across differences. Meghan nods once. Joy tilts her head, waiting. Meghan speaks first. I want to be very clear, she says, voice controlled but firm. I'm not saying facts don't matter. I'm saying that when you dismiss people outright, you lose them. And that's not good for anyone. Joy turns toward her, eyebrows raised. No one's dismissing people, she replies. But when opinions are built on falsehoods, they need to be challenged. And who decides what's false? Meghan presses, leaning forward now. That's the problem. There's no humility anymore. Just certainty. The word lands. Certainty. Joy lets out a short laugh. Humility, she repeats. Coming from someone who constantly claims victimhood when challenged. A sharp intake of breath ripples through the audience. Meghan's eyes widen for a fraction of a second. That's not fair, she says, the calm beginning to crack. Disagreeing isn't the same as playing the victim. Joy doesn't back down. It feels like every time someone pushes back, you frame it as an attack. Meghan's voice rises, emotion surging. Because it often is, Joy. It's personal. It's dismissive. And it's exhausting. The word exhausting hangs heavy. The audience murmurs again, some nodding, others shaking their heads. One co-host opens her mouth to interject, then closes it, sensing the futility. Joy leans back, arms crossing. You know what's exhausting, she says. Watching facts get twisted into opinions and then defended like they are sacred. Meghan's hands tremble slightly as she gestures. You're proving my point, she says. You're not listening. You're waiting to respond. The tension sharpens. The room feels divided down invisible lines. Even the crew seems frozen, eyes flicking between the two women like spectators at a tennis match that's turned into a fistfight. Joy's voice hardens. I am listening. I just don't agree with you. And that's fine, Meghan shoots back. But the tone matters. The way you talk to people matters. Joy scoffs. Oh, so now I'm responsible for how grown adults feel about facts. Meghan shakes her head, frustration spilling over. You're responsible for how you treat people on this show. That does it. The audience reacts loudly, applause mixed with audible gasps. The host shifts in her seat, glancing nervously at the camera, then at the clock. Joy's eyes narrow. "I've treated you with respect," she says, voice low but intense. "But respect doesn't mean I have to coddle bad arguments." Meghan's voice drops, quieter now, but heavier. "It doesn't mean you get to belittle them either." For a split second, Joy looks genuinely taken aback. The word belittle lands differently. Personal. Cutting. She opens her mouth, then pauses, collecting herself. "I don't belittle," Joy says slowly. "I challenge." Meghan meets her gaze. It doesn't feel like a challenge when there's no space for disagreement. The audience goes silent again. The silence feels louder than the shouting. This isn't just a clash of opinions. It's a clash of identities, of values, of deeply held beliefs about power and voice. A co-host finally steps in, trying to bridge the gap. "Maybe part of this is about how hard it is to have nuanced conversations on television," she offers. Everything gets amplified. Meghan nods slightly, grateful for the opening, but Joy remains focused. "Nuance doesn't mean avoiding hard truths," Joy says. "And hard truths don't excuse disrespect," Meghan replies instantly. The host raises her hands gently, trying to regain control. Okay, she says with a nervous laugh. "Let's take a breath." But Meghan isn't done. "This is why these conversations matter," she says, turning briefly toward the audience. "Because people at home are watching how we talk to each other. And it sends a message." Joy follows her gaze, then looks back at Meghan. "And I hope the message is that facts still matter," she says. Meghan's jaw tightens. "I never said they didn't." The audience applauds again, louder now, divided applause echoing through the studio. The host announces another upcoming segment, trying to steer the show forward, but the energy refuses to settle. As the camera pulls back, catching the entire table once more, Meghan leans back in her chair, arms crossed, eyes fixed ahead. Joy does the same, mirroring her posture, neither willing to yield. What started as a debate has transformed into something deeper, a battle over respect, authority, and who gets to define truth on one of America's most watched stages. And as the segment moves on, one thing becomes painfully clear. This clash isn't cooling down. It's smoldering, waiting for the next spark that could turn tension into an outright explosion. The next segment begins, but the shift in topic does nothing to ease the strain hanging over the table. The smiles are thinner now, the transitions sharper. Even the audience senses it. This is no longer just a spirited debate that can be wrapped up with a commercial break and a laugh. The confrontation has seeped into the atmosphere, lingering like smoke that refuses to clear. Meghan McCain sits rigid, arms folded, her gaze fixed straight ahead. She's listening, but only on the surface. Beneath it, her thoughts churn. Years of being labeled, dismissed, caricatured flash through her mind. She didn't come back to this table to be talked down to. She came to be heard. And across from her, Joy Behar watches her from the corner of her eye, expression unreadable. Joy has built a career on speaking plainly, on cutting through what she sees as nonsense. But something about this exchange has struck deeper than usual. The host tosses out a lighter question, something designed to reset the mood. A pop culture headline. A safe lane. One of the co-hosts laughs a little too loudly. The audience follows, grateful for the release. But Meghan doesn't join in. She shifts in her seat, uncrosses her arms, and takes a breath. "I'm sorry," she says suddenly, cutting through the chatter. The room freezes. Heads turn. The host blinks, caught off guard. Joy looks directly at Meghan now. "I just can't let this go," Meghan continues, voice steady but intense. "Because this isn't about one comment or one disagreement. This is about how voices get dismissed when they don't fit a certain narrative." The audience murmurs again. The laughter fades instantly. Joy straightens. "Meghan, no one is dismissing your voice," she says. "You're talking right now, aren't you?" Meghan nods once. Talking isn't the same as being respected. Joy exhales sharply. "There it is again," she says. "This idea that disagreement equals disrespect. It does when it's constant," Meghan fires back. "When every point is met with sarcasm or eye rolls." Joy's eyebrows shoot up. "Eye rolls," she repeats. "Now we're policing facial expressions." A few audience members laugh nervously. Meghan doesn't smile. "I'm serious," she says. "It adds up. And it sends a message." Joy leans forward, palms on the table. "Let me ask you something," she says. "Do you think it's respectful to spread ideas that can harm people?" Meghan's eyes flash. That's a loaded question. It's an honest one, Joy insists. Meghan shakes her head. You frame it like that, and of course anyone who disagrees looks dangerous. That's the problem. The tension spikes again, sharper than before. The host glances at the producers, then back at the table, her smile now completely gone. Joy's voice rises. Some ideas are dangerous, she says. We can't pretend they are not just to be polite. And some people feel silenced when they're constantly labeled as threats. Meghan snaps back. Her voice wavers for the first time, emotion breaking through the armor. You don't see how that hurts. The audience goes quiet. Even Joy seems momentarily taken aback. Meghan swallows, blinking rapidly, but she doesn't look away. I'm not asking you to agree with me, Meghan continues, voice lower now. I'm asking you to acknowledge that your words carry weight. That this table carries weight. Joy's jaw tightens. And I'm asking you to acknowledge that words can have consequences beyond hurt feelings, she responds. The exchange feels less like a debate now and more like a confession from two people standing on opposite sides of an unbridgeable gap. One co-host reaches out, placing her hand lightly on the table as if grounding herself. Can we agree that this country is exhausted? The co-host offers softly. That people are tired of fighting. Meghan nods immediately. Yes, exactly. Joy hesitates, then nods as well. People are tired, she agrees. But that doesn't mean we stop calling things what they are. Meghan turns toward her fully now. And it doesn't mean we stop listening to why people feel the way they do. The audience applauds, this time more unified, hopeful even. For a brief moment, it feels like the tension might finally break, like a truce is possible. But then Joy adds, almost under her breath, listening doesn't mean validating everything. Meghan hears it. Her shoulders stiffen. No one's asking for validation, she says sharply. Just fairness. Joy shakes her head. Fairness goes both ways. And I don't feel it does here, Meghan replies. The host jumps in quickly, voice urgent. Okay, she says. We're going to move on. But the damage is done. The spark has been reignited. Meghan leans back, lips pressed tightly together, eyes shining with restrained emotion. Joy mirrors her again, arms crossed, expression firm. The audience shifts uncomfortably, sensing they've witnessed something deeply personal, something unresolved. This wasn't just another televised argument. It was a collision of worldviews, of lived experiences, of pain that had never fully healed. As the segment winds down, the camera captures Meghan glancing toward Joy one last time, a mix of frustration and disappointment in her eyes. Joy meets the look, her own expression unreadable, guarded. The host announces the final segment of the show, her voice steady but strained. The credits are still far off, but the room already feels like it's holding its breath. Because everyone can feel it now, this clash has reached a breaking point. And whatever comes next won't be a simple exchange of words. It will be the aftermath. The final minutes of the show arrive with an uneasy calm, the kind that settles in after a storm has torn through and left debris everywhere. The table looks the same, the lights unchanged, but the energy is unmistakably different. Meghan McCain sits quieter now, her earlier fire replaced by a tight, guarded stillness. Joy Behar adjusts in her chair, composed on the surface, but the tension hasn't left her shoulders. It lingers, unresolved, pulsing beneath every word that follows. The host wraps up the last segment with practiced efficiency, guiding the conversation away from conflict, toward safer ground. But the audience isn't fully present anymore. They've already witnessed the real show. They've felt the sharp edges of it, the emotional weight. Applause comes on cue, but it's scattered, uncertain. When the credits finally roll, the smiles appear, but they don't reach the eyes. Meghan rises from her seat, exchanging polite nods with the co-hosts. Joy stands as well, offering a brief, professional goodbye. No hugs. No quiet laughter. Just distance. As the audience files out of the studio, the buzz is immediate. People whisper to each other, replaying moments, choosing sides. Did you hear what she said? That was harsh. She had a point, they. The debate spills out of the room, following viewers straight into their phones. Within minutes, clips begin circulating online. Short, sharp edits, Meghan's voice cracking, Joy's pointed retorts, the stunned silence of the audience. Twitter ignites. Hashtags trend. One side accuses Joy of arrogance, of dismissing voices she doesn't agree with. The other defends her fiercely, praising her refusal to soften facts for comfort. Comment sections explode. Some viewers say Meghan finally said what millions feel but are afraid to voice. Others argue she played the victim, that she couldn't handle being challenged. The divide is immediate and absolute. Media outlets jump in quickly. Headlines frame the clash in bold language. Another explosive showdown. Old tensions reignite. The View's most uncomfortable moment this season. Panel shows dissect the exchange frame by frame. Body language experts analyze eye contact. Political commentators argue over who won. No one agrees. Behind the scenes, sources whisper about the atmosphere after the cameras shut off. About the silence in the green room. About conversations cut short. About how some moments on live television can't be smoothed over with PR statements or friendly tweets. Meghan posts later that evening. Her words are measured but emotional, talking about respect, about the importance of listening, about how difficult it is to feel heard in spaces that claim to value dialogue. Support pours in immediately. So does criticism. Joy responds the next day during another appearance, standing by her comments, emphasizing the responsibility of media to challenge misinformation. Her supporters rally just as fiercely. The clash becomes more than a moment. It becomes a symbol. A reflection of a country talking past itself. Of conversations that escalate instead of heal. Of two women, both outspoken, both convinced they are defending something essential. Days later, the clip still circulates. Reaction videos multiply. Podcasts dedicate entire episodes to it. Some call it necessary. Others call it exhausting. But no one calls it forgettable. And that's the real aftermath. Not just the raised voices or the viral clips, but the reminder of how fragile civil discourse has become, especially when it's broadcast to millions. How quickly conversations about ideas turn into battles over identity. How difficult it is to step back once lines are drawn. As viewers, we're left with questions that don't have easy answers. Was this honesty or hostility? Courage or stubbornness? Did anyone really listen, or were they just waiting to speak? Now it's your turn. What did you see in that clash? Do you think Meghan was standing up for unheard voices? Or do you believe Joy was right to challenge her without restraint? Was this a necessary confrontation, or another example of why meaningful dialogue feels impossible on television today? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let your voice be heard. And if you want more explosive, cinematic breakdowns of the moments everyone's talking about, make sure you subscribe to Prime Talk right now. Like this video, share it with someone who has an opinion, and stay with us, because the next clash is always just one conversation away.